My name is Sam, and I'm close to 50 years old. And what I have to talk about is not very pleasant, but it's something that I've been meaning to talk about for a long time, but have never had the want to because of the pain that it would cause me. You see, for the last 40 plus years of my life, I lived a life of shame, pain, and self-disgrace. The fact is that during that time, I had been bullied by many people and emotionally and mentally abused by many people. Those whom I trusted or was supposed to trust. I want to talk to you about bullying. Why should you listen to someone like me? For the most part, the people who talk about bullying these days, I could be their father or their grandfather. Well, and I certainly don't fit the socioeconomic mold of those who are driving the anti-bullying movement. That is, those in their teens and tweens, and those in the gay and lesbian movement. But the fact is, I'm here to tell you that bullying and emotional and mental abuse affect people of all ages. And I'm a survivor of the truest form. Why? Because to be honest with you, I think I'm lucky I'm even here. Because for a long time, for decades, I hid the fact that I was bullied by some people in school, and moreover, I couldn't bring those issues home because what was happening at home was a lot worse. It was a double. Why speak out now? Why, after a perceived 4 decades of plus of me saying I suffered, am I speaking to the world now? Why don't I just man up and pull myself up by my bootstraps and feel better, let go, get some therapy, and live life? Well, I have. Several times. But the fact is that the reason I'm talking to you now is because I want to get the message, I want to let the world know that the effects of demeaning behavior, bullying, and mental and emotional abuse last a lifetime. And what did it take for me to turn my life around? It took me bullying my own kids and my first wife. The person recording this is my 18-year-old son, who was the recipient and has been the recipient of some of my anger, some of my pent-up feelings from when I was bullied and emotionally demeaned by many people. My household was a good household when I was a kid. However, it was a roller coaster ride. While my parents were good morally and taught me a good way of living, too many times, often predictably, my mother went into schizophrenic episodes, talking about people who were listening to her, people who were gossiping about her, people who were calling her names, which was not the case. And often, if I misbehaved, and it sent her into a schizophrenic state for an entire weekend, sometimes up to 3 weeks at a time, I was blamed for it. And when I asked for help, the time was that mental illness was a shameful thing, was not something to be talked about. But now I'm here to tell you that it affects people. And it affects people for a long time. Most people won't speak out like I am on the subject. And when the times I was bullied at school, like a lot of other kids, I couldn't go home and tell my parents about it because I couldn't trust them to advocate for me and to help me solve the problem. And after those schizophrenic episodes, if I couldn't trust my family, oftentimes after a schizophrenic episode that lasted a weekend, a week, or sometimes up to 3 weeks at its worst, there were few, if anyone, to talk to about it. And when I did talk to them, it was water under the bridge, and Sam will be okay. Well, Sam wasn't okay. And Sam couldn't talk about this for a long time. It was only last week at this time that I confessed to my best high school friend what was going on at home over 30 years ago. Because I had shame and I had pain that I didn't want to share with anybody. That situation narrowed my social life, my career choices, my family contacts, and the amount of friends that I had. Because I didn't think anybody understood. And for a long time, nobody did. And during a marriage that was rocky also, there was a lot of bullying too. And once again, the vicious circle happened again. Only this time, as much as I wished to keep it from others, my anger and my want to have a better life for everyone in my household, no matter what the cost, I had to control that. So I made my kids do things that they didn't want to do. Nothing immoral, nothing illegal, nothing stupid. But it made them angry. And it made them rebel against me to some point. And it got to a point where my daughter was completely alienated from me and doesn't ever want to forgive me. Frankly, I don't blame her. I'm amazed that the person who's taping this, my son, would even forgive me too. As my first wife used to say, shit rolls downhill. And so is the case with bullying. Most people who are bullied become bullies themselves. They will emotionally demean, they will yell, scream, call names, or physically, emotionally, or mentally abuse others. And I've done more than my share. And I still have to a degree, even to this day. And I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to suffer in silence anymore. And I don't want anyone to see this video to suffer anymore. I hope that someone sees this and asks questions and is willing to ask me questions as to the details, many of which I can't even talk about for lack of time and for the fact that I might just completely break down here. Having a mentally schizophrenic ill mother who was untreated from 1964 until 1992, when her daughter-in-law finally advocated and got her treatment, did my mother become the best person that anyone ever expected. But it took a long time, and someone who was willing to do it. Well, I'm telling you now, be willing. If you see someone being bullied, if you see someone being abused, emotionally demeaned publicly, privately, or otherwise, in your family, amongst your friends, get involved. Speak up. Go to someone you trust and stop it. And stop this circle. It is truly a vicious circle. One that I lived for 3 to 4 decades. And one that I refuse to live with anymore. And one that I refuse to have my family live with anymore. The only other thing that changed my life was meeting an angel who I'm married to now, who helped me to raise my kids, to help set me straight, and help support me in my efforts to change my life. And now, because I know that I want to change my life, I want to help others change theirs. Before they suffer in silence, before their life is so narrow that they don't know what enjoyment is. Even so far as to, if I could prevent someone, if seeing this video helps you to save your own life, or someone else's life that you know and love, I hope that it does.